Here, first of all, we'll be discussing about like why Java as the first topic we have discussed over there. So here, Java. So first of all, why are we going for Java? Okay, like example, we have so many other languages already available in the market. Like we have Basic, Fortran, Pascal, okay, which are outdated nowadays. But yes, if I don't have to consider this, at least we can consider the C, C++, okay, and Java, Python. Likewise, many languages are there. Now, what is the drawback of C language, first of all, due to which we are going for Java? Or before that, we can say, why are we heading from C to C++? I'm not considering these which are outdated languages, but yes, nowadays in trend, okay, nowadays in trend, we can find is Java and Python. Okay. But still, C, C++, why the industry has moved from C to C++ and C, C++ to Java or Python? Yeah, C structured programming language, or also called as procedural language. Okay, so generally we call it POP, procedure oriented programming. Okay, that is C. And C++ is object oriented programming. But can you tell me what is that makes like object oriented better than procedure oriented programming? Okay, so here the answer. See, why I'm discussing all this particular thing is, see, many people know like C structured programming language and C++ object-oriented programming language, and then after that, immediately the things comes is okay, security comes into picture, it is performance is better, all these things. But actually speaking, that is not the reason. The reasons why we are going from procedure-oriented programming to object-oriented programming is, see, let's assume, let's take an example of here function main, because we know in C the execution starts from main function. Along with main function, let's take I have A function, B function, and C function. Okay, with some logic inside these functions. Okay, so just a simple example we are taking, not writing any code inside that. But yes, main function, along with that A function, B function, C function, likewise we have some code. Okay, now as in case of procedure, what is procedure? This function is called as procedure. Okay, so remember the functions are nothing but called as procedures. Fine. So here, as execution started from main function, at some line of code, let's take there is some code, and in between some code, I'm calling a function here based on some condition. Okay. So what will happen is the control will jump immediately from a function to this code. Now a function is under execution. Now while a function is under execution, based on some condition if, okay, based on some condition if I'm calling, for example, C function, then what will happen is immediately after that line, the code will jump to actually C function. Okay, it will come here to C function. Now again in C function, here, based on some logic, or if the logic, if no condition is there, then it will execute C function completely. It will come back to A function. Then again in A function, somewhere I'm calling B function. Then it will jump to B function. Then again in B function, some logic will be executed. Then after executing B function, or inside B function, if based on some condition, I'm going to call like C function, then again it will jump to C function. Like, see, this is how in structured programming language it works. Means one function calling other function, that function calling some other function, that function calling some other function. Likewise, all functions are calling each other, because in C program we don't have anything other than functions. So one function calling other function, that function, if it's not calling any other function, after executing that function it will come back to main function. But again after main function it will call some other function. Then if that function is calling some other function, then it will go there. And again if that function is not calling any other function, it will come back to previous function. Or if it is calling some function, it will go to that function. What I want to explain over here is, in case of structured programming language, all the functions calling each other function. Okay, means one function calling other function, that function calling other function, that calling further other function, then coming back likewise. Means what will happen due to this kind of programming is, assume tomorrow the business requirement is changing, and if this B functionality is creating some problem according to new business requirement, and if I don't want this B anymore, have a look what will happen. Now see here, A was calling B function and B is calling C function. So due to this, the flow was what is totally disturbed by removing this B functionality. Okay, so because it's all about function calling other function, that calling other function, likewise all function oriented, connected to each other. If any modification I'm doing, not even if I'm removing this B functionality, but if I'm modifying some code also inside this B functionality, then also the link is broken. Then after C function, what all the other functions were called, all these will be affected. So I have to keep on checking my code. Okay, so this is, see, this is just an example of 3 functions. But in real time big application, there might be thousands of functions. Then when you are modifying one function, you have to keep on checking all the other functions in structured programming language. that is this function being called by many other functions, or this function is calling many other functions, because it is all tightly coupled. If I modify one function, it will definitely going to affect many other function calls. Okay, because from this function we have to check which all the other functions were called, or this function is calling some function and that function might be calling some other function. So any kind of modification, it will affect a lot. Fine. So for big application, any minor changes you have to do anywhere in the function, you have to keep on checking from beginning, okay, the whole flow. So the maintenance of the application becomes very complex in case of structured programming language. Okay, so this is the main drawback. That's why if you see any object-oriented book, not only Java, C++, okay, or .NET, anything, you can see, or even in your colleges, you might have seen, like in case of object-oriented programming, any book you pick up, they have written in the beginning that in case of structured programming language, if the lines of code goes beyond thousands of lines of code, it will become very complex to maintain such applications. What does the statement mean is nothing but this. So structured programming language is better for some small scale applications. Okay, so small kind of requirement, or small to medium scale applications, or low level programming, something like hardware level, creating device drivers, etc., then it is fine. Okay, because it's like because of this problem which we have discussed. But if it is really a big application, enterprise application, or very big application where we have thousands of functions, all those things, it has to do a lot of work, then it will create the problem in maintaining the application later on. Any kind of changes I need to do, tomorrow I don't want this A functionality, I remove this A functionality, now I have to worry about this A functionality was calling, so which all the other functions, and from which all the other functions A functionality was called. I have to go to all of those functions and do the modification, right? So likewise, any single function, if I want to modify, replace, or remove anything, I have to do, I have to keep on checking all the other functions which are dependent on this, or this is dependent on which all the other functions. So that's why in case of structured programming language, all are tightly coupled to each other. They are tightly dependent on each other. Okay, this is the major drawback of structured programming language. Now let's then discuss how come OOPS overcome this drawback. Now when we say OOPS, immediately let's jump on to the terminologies which you'll find in OOPS. So when we say OOPS, we will generally find two major things called as classes and objects. So can you tell me, anyone, like what is a class according to you? Or what is class and object, how they're related to each other? See, this is one of the very widely used definition about a class. Okay, class is collection of objects, but actually this is absolutely wrong answer. This is very wrong statement which is being spread throughout, okay, the world, in fact, and this is not the fault of the person actually who's answering this, because this is what is being taught starting from college, institute, anywhere you go, that class is collection of objects. But let me take an example to understand this and to tell you like what is exactly a class. Fine. And we are going to keep it simple so that it is easy to understand. First of all, definition wise, remember what is class. Class is a blueprint or a template of an object. So when I say class, class is a blueprint or template of an object. This is what is the real definition of a class. And what is object? Object is an instance of a class. Now this is definition wise, but how it is going to be different? Okay, miss, how I can say misunderstand what is class and object. Let's take a simple example to understand. When I say class, just assume class as a map. Let's take a real estate example. Class is like a map, and then object is like a building, Fine. Now just this is the simplest example to understand. So here let's take an example of building, a real estate example. Now see, before constructing a building, what we do? We create a map, right? So before constructing a building, we create a map. Fine. Now when we construct a map, can we go and stay inside a map? Obviously no. Okay, so what is map? Map is just defining the structure. Okay, and in fact map is called blueprint. If you go to civil engineering, you can find map is generally called blueprint. So same thing here, like map is a class. Fine. So when we say map, map is not a real world entity. We cannot go and stay inside a map. Map is something which is just defining the structure of what? For a building. So building is what? A real world entity. This is the one which we can utilize. We can go and stay inside a building. And like building, we have object, which is created based on class. Like see, building is created based on map. Similarly, object is created based on class. So when I construct a building, building will have all the structure, whatever we have defined inside a map, like the room size, where the kitchen should come, where the hall should come, So likewise, all these things what we have defined in the map, that will be taken by building. Similarly, whatever you define in a class, the variables, methods, everything what you define, the structure, when you create an object, object will have all that particular content of a class defined inside. Fine. Now let's take this furthermore in discussion to understand in much more better manner. So yes, before creating a building, we construct a map. And as we cannot stay inside a map, it's just a template. So we construct a building based on map, which is a real world entity. So that is just denoted here in class and object. But now let's take this discussion further. Now, if you create a map, will it occupy any space on the land? Obviously no. If you have a 30-40 site available, the site will be still open. So if you simply create a map, it will not occupy any space on the land. But when the land space is occupied, when you create object of a class. So remember, like when you create building based on a map. Okay, so when the land space is occupied is when you create building based on map. Likewise only here, when you create a class, no heap memory is allocated. Okay, heap memory is allocated when you create object of a class. So here, heap memory is nothing but like land space. So no land space is occupied when you just create a map. Similarly, no heap memory is allocated when you just create a class. So land space is occupied when you create a building. When you construct a building, building needs a land space. Similarly, when you construct an object, object is created in heap memory. So this is heap memory actually, where the objects will be created. Once we understood this, next is, let's take another example. If you have a map, can you construct as many buildings you want based on the same map structure? Obviously yes, like government quarters, okay, or row houses. Yes, I can have for one house how the map should be, and then similar structure, like similar kind of dimension for the hall, kitchen, okay, everything, where the door should come, window should come, everything as it is. I can construct multiple houses. All will have same structure what defined in the map. Okay, same way, here we can create as many objects we want of the same single class. So whenever I create multiple objects of single class, all the objects will have the same functionality or same feature whatever defined in the class. Furthermore, next, if I create, assume I have only one site of 30-40 and I already constructed one building over there, and now I want to construct one more building. Can I construct one more building on the same land space where already I have constructed a house? Obviously no. I can have a floor above floor, but it's a single building. If I want one more separate building, then obviously I need to have a separate land space, or I should demolish the previous one. Means I cannot have two different buildings on the same single land space. Similarly, I cannot have two different objects on the same single memory address. So every object will have its own address, like every house will have its own address. Address is nothing but actually address of land space. Okay, address is not actually for the single window or door, something like that. So it's about the land space, like even plot will have an address. Without constructing an house, we can have an address for the plot number will be assigned. So the layout will be there, and in that layout the land the plot will also be assigned with the address. Okay, address in the sense, yes, the plot number will be there. So likewise only the heap memory. So every object once created in the heap memory, every object will be created on different address. So now with all these things in consideration, just easy to remember, whatever holds good there with the map and building, same thing here with the class and object. And just before constructing a building, as we create a map, similarly before constructing an object, we create a class. Okay, now coming to a conclusion. So see, we have taken so many different things to understand now. So first, map like a blueprint. Similarly, class is a blueprint. If you create a map, no land space is occupied. Similarly, if you create a class, no heap memory is allocated. As we cannot utilize directly a map, it's not a real world entity. So based on map, we construct a building, which is real world entity where we can go and stay. Similarly, we don't directly use a class. We create an object of a class, and this object is what we use in our program. Next, now whenever you create a building, every building is created on some land space. So land space is occupied by the building. Similarly, whenever you create an object, heap memory is allocated. And every building constructed will have its own separate address. Similarly, every object created will have separate address. Okay, then furthermore, if I have a single map, okay, means single structure, still based on single map structure, I can construct as many buildings I want. All will have same structure. Similarly, on a single class basis, I can create multiple objects. All the objects will have same structure what is given in the class. So yes, everything is matching now. Now coming to a conclusion. When I'm saying map is like a class and object is like a building, now let's say, is map collection of buildings? Obviously no. Map is not a collection of building. See, in fact, map is not even holding a single building. So what is map? Map is just a structure. It's just a blueprint based on which I might construct one building, might construct many building, or might not construct any building. It all depends on the budget or many other things. So here, yes, I have a map which is defining the structure. Based on map, I might construct one building, or I might construct many buildings, or I might not construct any building at all, because might not have the budget or due to some other reasons not allowed to create a building over there, etc. But I have just created map, that's it. So similarly, as map is not collection of buildings, similarly class is not collection of objects. Class is just a template based on which I might construct multiple objects. Okay, remember, very important thing. So because of this wrong concept itself, many people will not understand the whole Java or any object-oriented programming feature at all. So class is just a blueprint, a template. If there's nothing like, if class is collection of objects, okay, that is different. Collection of objects is actually, there is separate topic called as collection framework. This is totally different. Okay, but class is not collection of objects, just like we said about map. So like map is not collection of buildings, but yes, map is defining the structure based on which I might create one or more building or no building. Similarly, in Java also we can have a class based on which I can create one object or many object or no object. Yes, we have many classes of which we don't create object. Like example, the best example to tell you, one is math class. Math class, we don't create math m1 equal to new math like this. We never create object. Directly we type math class dot pi, because I want pi value which is constant, math dot e exponential. So in any expression I can use math into r, pi r square, okay, to find the area of a circle. Like this we can use. So I don't create here object of a class now. In math class I have predefined constant variable pi, which I am using inside my application. Okay, similarly exponential is another one. Similarly I can say math dot power, okay, to 3 to the power of 4. Similarly I can say math dot square root, okay, to find square root of 25. So, but I will not create object of this class. So hence, class doesn't mean that collection of objects. Remember, this is very important thing to understand first. Class is not collection of objects. Class is just a blueprint or template of an object, based on which I might create an object or I might not create an object, but or might create any number of objects. That all depends on the application requirement. And to understand this, let's take furthermore with another examples. Okay, we have taken here the real estate example. So yes, in real estate, we create first map and then we create building based on map. Okay, let's take another sector, automobile sector. In automobile industry also, they will not directly manufacture the car. What they will do? First, they will design a template. Okay, like example, you can notice in case of like, the CAD/CAM engineers or the using CATIA software, ProE, something like mechanical engineering related or automobile sector software they will use, and they will design the template. The engineers will sit and design the template of the car, like the design, all those things, and in the computer they will just in 360-degree view they will rotate here and there, and they can see how the car is looking. Okay, the stress, strain, all those things they will test it in that particular software only. Okay, now see that template which they have designed, it is something like a class now. Fine. So in real estate, like map is a class. Similarly, now in automobile sector, what in computer they have designed the car model, that is like a class now. Now, once they design that model, that is just a blueprint, a template. Now, once they finalize, okay, now this is very good looking car. Okay, everything is fine in this, stress, stain, everything. Yes, the seats should come here, door should come here. It should open like this. All this, whatever they have actually designed. Now, can we go and take that car and drive? Obviously, no. So it's not a real world entity. So what then they will do, once they finalize the car design or the model, then they will manufacture multiple cars. Now those manufactured cars are like objects, like here building creator based on map. Okay, similarly, now there the cars which are manufactured are actually like objects, okay, which are all independent. All cars will have same features, whatever in the design model they have created. So all, like example, if I have to say Maruti Alto, okay, or Maruti Suzuki Alto, all Suzuki Alto will have the same structure. But whereas if it is like Maruti's Swift Desire, all the Desire cars will have similar structure. But the Desire car structure will be different from Alto. So in terms of look, in terms of like the seating space arrangement, everything. Fine, because that is created based on other class, this is created based on other class. Fine. So likewise. Similarly, let's take another sector, fashion industry. Even in fashion industry, what the fashion designer will do is they will take pen or pencil and a sheet of paper and then they will sketch the diagram. Now, once they sketch the diagram, that is like a blueprint, like a class. Now, once the fashion designer designs some template or sketch on the paper, now we cannot wear that sheet of paper. Okay, that's just a diagram. Then once they finalize it, they will stitch multiple clothes based on that. Now, those clothes are like real world entities, which we can utilize. Like see in automobile sector, the design we cannot utilize, the model that is like a class, but whatever car manufactured, that we can utilize. So all cars will have same functionality or the feature or the structure which is defined in the model. Okay, similarly in case of real estate building, the building is like an object which is real world entity, but map we cannot go and stay. Okay, similarly when we say fashion industry, there we have like that sketching on the paper is nothing but like a class, a template, and based on the template, once they stitch multiple clothes, they are like objects, they are like we can utilize them. So like that. So similarly in any sector, see I'm taking multiple different sectors, any sector you pick up, in every sector we just call like, okay, the design, a template or a structure or a model. Now these terminologies are nothing but called here as class. And then in any sector, what we construct or create or manufacture or develop, that we call here as object. That's why when we say object-oriented programming language, we generally call it is a real world programming. Means whatever happens in real world, any sector, anything that can be implemented here in terms of classes and objects. So this is clear about what is class and object. So yes, class is just a blueprint or template. So like in any sector, first we create a design or a template or a structure. Similarly here we create a class, and then what they manufacture or create, that we represent here as an object. So which will have the real functionality and the logic, which will perform the operations. So likewise we have, so class is just to define the structure, and then we create multiple objects based on that class. Now let's take this further to understand with the real-time example here. As we know now, before constructing a building we create a map. Similarly here, before constructing an object we create a class, and I want to create a car object. So I will take a class car. Now let's decide what all the properties we can have for a car. As soon as you see a car, can you just list out me what all the properties you can see for a car? Color, right? String color. Wheels, right? Int wheel. Okay, int wheel equal to 4. I can make it final constant, in fact. The engine capacity, likewise many properties we can have, right? And then the functionalities like accelerator functionality. Okay, what we can perform on the car, they are the functionalities. Brake function. Okay, likewise many functionalities, AC, stereo, etc. Now see, this is what is the structure of a car. Now what all the things car can have, they will be called as properties. It could be company name, it could be the brand, it could be model, everything. All these will become actually the properties of a car. Okay, the seating capacity, type of car, the fuel type, etc. And whatever car can perform, these are the functionalities. Like it will have AC, stereo, accelerator, brake functionality, likewise. Class, when we say, it defines the structure. Now based on this class car, we create an object, car C1. This is how we create an object in Java. So car C1 equal to new car. Then I'm saying C1.color equal to red. And then C1.accelerator. Means right now what we did, we created one object of car class. Now this car class will have what all the features you have mentioned inside this class, that will come here. And we have specified the color of that particular car to be of red color, and it is in moving state. Similarly, after some time, I'm going to create one more object of this class car C2 equal to new car. And then I'm typing C2.color equal to, let's take black. And then C2.accelerator. Means I have created now two cars. Both of these cars are having their own properties. So one of them is red color, one is of black color, and both are right now in moving state. But after some time, I'm going to call C1.stop. Can you tell me which car is going to stop now? Yes, obviously C1, not the C2. Why? Because the main reason, see, obviously we can say, okay, here C1.stop, so C1 only will stop. Okay, so why it is happening so? Because it is loosely coupled. Why loosely coupled? See, every object has its own set of properties now. It's not like in case of like previous case, A function calling B, B function calling C, C function calling A will call again C back again B. Means what? It's tightly dependent here. But here see, they are not dependent on each other. The car C1 object has its own properties and functions. C2 object has its own property and function. Then if you say C1.stop, it will affect only C1. Just let's understand with real-time example. See, I'm driving my own car and you are driving your own car. Okay, my car color is red. Your car color could be black. Now both of us are driving this accelerator function. But if I apply my car brake, C1 dot stop, how it will stop your car, right? So because all of us are independently running. Fine. So this is what is the purpose of object oriented. See how in real world everything happens. Same way here also. So this is the main advantage why we go for object oriented programming language, because every object will have everything what is required for that object. Okay, it is independent of each other. Fine. So every object, and why they're independent? The only reason because every object has its own set of variables. What they can have is declared as variables, and what they can perform in terms of function. So every object is now independent of each other. Now we can see when the two objects of the same classes are independent of each other, then obviously the two objects of two different classes will never depend on each other until unless we want them to. So by default, our object-oriented programming language is loosely coupled programming. So this is the main thing, and due to which it is easy to maintain the application now. Have a look. Now all of you might have played Road Rash game or any bike racing game, or if not played any bike racing game, at least you might have seen bike racing games. Okay, the video games I'm speaking about. Fine. Now let's assume that they have given you the requirement to develop this game. Okay, and they have mentioned in few of the levels in the bike racing game, in few of the levels from opposite side cars should come, in few level no car should come. Now see, in that case what you need to do, now in whichever level you want the car functionality, just import this class car, create an object of it, because along with that object all the related car functionality will be added to your project. In whichever level you don't want that car functionality, don't import this class. If you don't import, you can't create object of it. If you don't create object, then only related to that car functionality will be removed from your application without affecting the whole application from scratch. Means you don't have to actually keep on modifying your code everywhere. When you added the car object, along with car object, whatever is required for that car object, that will be added in the application as a functionality. When you remove that car object, only related to that car functionality is removed without affecting the whole application from scratch. So this is what is called as bottom-up approach. Bottom-up approach means, see, you'll be adding just objects in your program. Okay, because every object knows what it can have and perform. So it will add that functionality to your project, and accordingly the project is built up. So that's why it is called as bottom-up approach, because you will be adding here objects, and the object will make the project developed, because whatever the objects are performing, accordingly the project is developed. But when we say structured programming language, we call it as top-down approach. Means you have to think the whole project from scratch first, and then you have to divide into small modules which are called functions, and then you have to actually code in that. Any change happens, again you have to think from scratch, because if you modify in between any function, as we know, if you modify any function or remove any function, it will affect the whole structure. So always you have to think from top, okay, the whole project from scratch, and keep on modifying everywhere wherever it is affecting. So that's why it is more cumbersome for big application. Okay, I hope now this is clear for everyone, like why we are going for OOPS concept, means object-oriented programming. Function is a terminology used if you are not making it part of a class. Okay, now since C just is one function, this is one function, this is one function, that's it. Okay, but now if I have the same function inside a class, we generally call it as a method. It's just a terminology difference, nothing else. Like example, some of the times you might have seen int a. Okay, some people call it as arguments, some people call it as parameters. The data which I am passing, some people just call it as arguments, some people call it as parameters. So, but interchangeably both can be used, no problem. Similarly, okay, here functions and methods. But yes, when we come to OOPS concept, we generally call the function which is a part of a class, because now when I create object will get that particular logic. So this is a method. Okay, and the same method is also called as behavior. So see the terminologies now. This variable, also called as data member, also called as property, also called as attribute, also called as field. So these are the different terminologies for this particular variable declared inside a class. Okay, all the variable means it is called instance variable actually. And the methods, these are called methods or member functions or behavior. So this is what is actually the other terminologies for this same method, which is nothing but called as member functions, because these functions are member of an object. which is going to be creator of this class. So right now this is a member of a class. Once we create object, it's a member of the object. So that's why they are not functions, they are member functions. But here it's not like that. They are just normal functions. So member functions itself is nothing but called as methods. So structure wise, if I have to say, syntax wise, yes, class is collection of the data members and member functions, or variables and functions. Yes, class is collection of variables and functions. Okay. That is syntax wise, structure wise. And we have constructor also, which we'll discuss later when we come to classes and object topic. Yes, here I have not mentioned that. So after all these things, we'll be discussing first classes and objects actually in detail. Okay, here I'm just mentioning about why we are going for Java, means object-oriented programming concept. Yeah, so here, hope the thing about class and object is clear to everyone. Okay, yes. Now let's make it more simple and easy to understand for everyone with a real-time example of us only. I'm saying us. So can you tell me, when I'm saying we are an example of classes and objects, first tell me what are we?
Humans.
Obviously human beings, but in terms of classes and objects, what are we? No, in terms of classes and objects, what are we? We are classes or we are objects?
We are objects.
Yeah, can you tell me why we are objects, why not we are classes?
We are existed in this world, right?
Correct, right. So correct, exactly. So see, as we said, what is object? Object is real world entity. Like see, map. Like class, we said just a blueprint. Map is like, we cannot utilize this map to go and stay. It's not a real world entity. Okay, so building, this object is the real world entity. So, and we are real, we exist. Okay, so we are objects. If we are object, then there should be some class. So human, there's a class with the name human, which has defined the structure for the human being. So what could be the structure defined here? Like int leg equal to 2, int hand equal to 2, int nose equal to 1. Okay, int eyes. Likewise, what all the things a human should have, all these properties will be declared here. Okay, so the common things which generally most of the human beings will have. See, once the object is created, yes, after creating the object, I can change these particular things. Okay, means I can change the property value. But yes, this is like the basic structure which will be specifying for all the normal human class. Then, what are the functionalities for the human being? Means what all the things we perform? Yes, walking, talking, okay, eating. So whatever we perform, all the functionalities. So eating, likewise many functionalities. Whatever we perform, all are the functionalities. Now see, this is a class and we are the objects of this class now. Okay, so now whatever we can have is declared in terms of variable, and whatever we can perform is declared in terms of functionalities here. Fine. So it could be eating, it could be digestion. Okay, it could be like walking, it could be talking, it could be like watching, like seeing the content. Okay, smelling. Okay, everything, whatever we can perform, they are nothing but the functionalities, and whatever we have is nothing but the properties. So we are the objects and this is the class. Then see, like some programmer should have written this class, because when we say programmer will write a class and then create object. So if we are taking like we are objects and this is a class, then who is the programmer for this class? The Almighty God, the biggest programmer of the world. So the God is the one who has created this class and created all of us. Now see, all of us are independent of each other. See, I have my own 2 hands, you have your own 2 hands, I have my own leg, you have your own leg, I can walk on my own, you can walk on your own, I can talk on my own, you can talk on your own. This is what we are all independent of each other. Right? And see the bottom-up approach now here. Okay, before that bottom-up approach, if God is the programmer, this is a class and we are the objects of this class and we are all independent of each other, then there should be some project for which this particular program would have been written. So what is the project over here? The project is nothing but world. Okay, see, the whole world is being run, and now all these are the, now it is not the only class which is he has created. He has created another class also, class animal. So under class animal, again here int leg equal to 4. Okay, like that, all the other functionalities, properties, everything will be written over here. Okay, so that is like for the animal, and then created many objects from this animal. Again, the inheritance topic we'll cover later. Okay, like this class will be extended further by horse, elephant, etc. So different types of animals. Okay. Similarly, different types of human beings, man and woman, which will extend human class. Likewise, and then created multiple objects. And all these objects are independent of each other, and all these objects are added where? In the world. So see, bottom-up approach. What type of object is added and what these objects are doing, accordingly the world is changing. Okay, so see the bottom-up approach here. Not according to the world human beings are added. According to what human beings or whatever every object is performing the operation in the world. Okay, or what they are doing. Accordingly, the world is changing. Bottom-up approach now here, totally. Okay, so world is the project which is like changing based on what objects are added or removed. Means the human beings or animals or anything. Okay, it could be not only human being or animal, it could be like nowadays virus. Okay, the best example to take. Now see what and how it's all happened because of all the human beings only. Okay, now human beings are creating factories, the pollution is raising, the temperature is raising. Okay, similarly, the like whatever the human being is performing, it might be a war, it might be like terrorist activity, it could be anything. Okay, so whatever the human beings are added and what the majority of the people or even the minor people or whatever the people are doing, according to that, the whole world is changing. It could be temperature, global warming, it could be like pollution, it could be anything. Okay, so the project is here the world. So we are the objects. Okay, and God is the programmer. Fine. Then we have some concept called as in Java garbage collector. What garbage collector will do? It will remove the objects which are no more required. Okay. Now what is garbage collector equivalent to here then? Something like Yamraj. Okay. So now we can say Yamraj as a garbage collector. So he will come and he will take up that particular object which is no more required in the world anymore. Okay. So we'll be discussing this whole session in this particular manner. Okay, so that it will make the thing simple to understand. So we don't have to just discuss only technical words, classes, class is collection of something, object, all these things. So because when we learn in this manner, it will be easy for us to remember forever. Because this is what happens around us always. So when we relate it with it, it will be easy to understand the whole concept. Fine. So that is the reason why Java or any object-oriented programming language is called real world programming. Because whatever happens in the real world, that can be actually related to this particular programming field, and that can be easily written in terms of classes and objects. So I hope now everything is clear about classes and objects. Yeah, so this is what is about object-oriented programming. Okay, so it is more loosely coupled. So any kind of real-time requirement, whatever is there, we can implement when we go for classes and object kind of programming. Okay, so this is the reason why we are moving ahead from structure programming language to object-oriented programming language. And when we say object-oriented programming language, it's not only C++. It's C++, Java, Python, all these are like object-oriented programming, even .NET, fine, C#, all those things are object-oriented. So now structure programming language is no more required. So because of all these advantages which we have discussed, we are going for object-oriented programming language. So here, just to recap the things, yes, the structure programming language, it's all like only in terms of functions, one function calling other function, that calling some other function. So it is totally tightly dependent. Any kind of modification if I want to do in my application, then I need to check from the whole application from scratch that where all it is affecting the code. Okay, means that function is dependent on which all the other functions, or which all the other functions are dependent on this function. So likewise, and I have to modify every one of these. So it is not suitable for big applications. Hence, we are going for OOPS concept. So where everything is in terms of classes and objects. So first of all, class is just a blueprint or template of an object, and object is an instance of a class. Means something which is created based on class. Then we discuss the different sector like real estate, automobile sector, and the fashion industry. So in every case, we first create a blueprint, a structure or a model, which we represent as a class. And then we construct object based on it. So here, the class will comprise of the variables and methods. Variables means what data it can have. This is to hold the data part, and then the behavior means what it can perform, what object is allowed to perform, that will be as a function. So just an example of our human being example itself here. So whatever we are having is available as variables here, and whatever we can perform is available as functionalities. And just illustrated the same thing here with like a programmer, a god, and the project like world, and Yamraj like actually the garbage collector, etc. Okay, so this defines like, yes, now if I go for object-oriented programming language for my application development, any kind of requirement it could be, like even the live example ourselves can be implemented in terms of OOPS programming now. Okay, so any kind of requirement which is required in the world, which is how much ever big it is, every can be implemented easily in object-oriented programming language because it is loosely coupled. Why loosely coupled? Because whenever you create an object of a class, every object will have its own set of property and its own functionalities. So, like example, every car will have its own set of 4 tires. Every car will have its own gear, clutch, everything. So functionality and variables all are independent for every object. Similarly, as a human being, we have our own hands, legs, and we can talk on our own, walk on our own, etc. So likewise, this is like loosely coupled. Okay, so that easily it can be added and removed from the project without affecting the whole project from scratch. We don't have to keep on monitoring, okay, this is affecting where, which function is this is calling, because function is associated with object only. What that object is meant for, what it is doing, it is affecting only that object. So when you add that object, accordingly that functionality is added to project. When you remove that object, that functionality is removed from the project. So this is how easily we can maintain our application. So this is just the final thing to understand.